Ooh, that is nice.
The new make, isn't it?
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second of our live tastings today. Hopefully you've enjoyed all the 360 tours that we've been doing, from fields with Islay all the way through to finishing up with Michal in the bottling hall there. If you haven't seen any of those videos, they're available on our social media channels going forward and now at the moment. So do go on there and have a look at them. It really does give you a nice in-depth tour of the distillery into parts that you haven't been able to see, especially in the last year when there's been so much going on in the world. And at Kilhoman, we've made a lot of changes. This evening, what we're going to taste, and this is our Through the Ages tasting. So we're going to start with our new make spirits, and then we're going to taste 3 cask samples, one from 2016, 2011, and then a 2006. Joined by Robin. Some of you might have tuned into his Q&A. We won't be going down the same bonding routes as he went with Peter, but we will be. He'll be here to talk about the new make, and also as he looks after all the production and a lot of the cask management, he'll be here to do that. So I'll pass over to Robin, who'll be able to introduce the new make that we've got in front of us.
Good evening. So the new make we have here is a Port Ellen.
Yeah.
Don't know what side that's from, but
so the Port Ellen. Yeah. So when you say
it's
our Port Ellen, is that
so
the commercial malt?
The commercial malt. So we've got the 2 new makes we have. This is be reduced to 63.5.
Yeah.
So we have the new side, which we can do both the 100% and the Port Ellen, and the old side we just predominantly do the Port Ellen, which is our core range.
Yeah.
But like I think mentioned before, that way we can keep going with our Port Ellen new make, and on the old side, the new side, we can do a bit more experimentation.
Yeah. So for those who tried the Fèis or who bought that one, that's made from our 100% Islay spirit. So it won't be this spirit, but you know, for the core range, Maccabee, Saneg, Loch Gorm, that's all made from this spirit from Port Ellen malt.
Yeah. And exactly. And
is there a certain style that you're looking to get with our new make? Is there sort of a distinctive thing that people should be looking to get from
so I mean, our spirit cuts.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a very small 4 shots. We've got 5 minutes, 4 shots.
Yeah.
And after 5 minutes, it's probably coming in about 75%.
Yeah.
Around about that. Coleman sometimes a little bit weaker than that, but predominantly it's around about 74, 75%. Yeah. And then that spirit run will last for about an hour 20 minutes. And the cut is at 65.5. So we're after a nice light, fruity, sort of even floral.
Yeah, and that's exactly
the Kilhoman one, you'll get the floral coming through.
But even on that, at 63.5%, when you put your nose in there, there's amazing sort of floral quality, even sweetness coming out of it.
Oh yeah, totally.
And it's 50 parts per million, isn't it?
This one,
the commercial malt from Port Ellen.
And our Kilhoman one, it's between we say 20, so it can be 16, 20 ppm.
That's ppm for that one. So this one, but even at 50 ppm, you're not really getting a load of smoke. Smoke is the thing you're getting. Yeah.
And that is due to our cut being, because we're 65.5, we're sort of cutting it before we get into those heavier, sort of oilier, waxier.
So that light spirit is exactly what we've aimed for through the production. That maltiness, that fresh fruit, that zestiness, real clean notes.
And that's by both still houses as well, because we designed the new still house to be pretty similar to not pretty similar.
You almost said exactly
identical.
The same.
It's exactly the same. But the route I was going down there was the stills are all exactly the same. Yeah. But the new make spirit is just slightly different.
And do we know what the reason might be for that? Is that
I don't know. It could be, new stills, not cleaner stills, but
just the heated.
It's getting a bit more copper contact, and there's many factors, different washbacks, and it's all sort of the new.
Yeah, but I always think it's great to start tasting off with the new make, because that is the raw ingredients of the distillery.
Oh yeah, totally.
And a great starting point to then be able to show what we do with this, and especially this evening when we're tasting purely ex-bourbon casks. Hopefully what you're going to see is the development of this spirit and how the cask then plays a part in it moving forward, and how we want to try and keep that freshness in there.
That's all about
So maybe if you're lucky to have enough 4 glasses in front of you like we've got here, keep that new make to one side and just refer back to it.
Because you didn't even need water with that, really, do you?
No.
It's got a bit of fire to it, but it's the cleanness of that is hopefully what you're getting at home is how clean it is. And those little flavours of Kilchoman that come through and all the drams will taste tonight, because we don't chill filter any of our whiskies, we don't colour any of our whiskies. So all the drams you taste at home that you've got in your cupboard, if you've not got this tasting pack, grab a Mackie Bay out the cupboard, grab a Loch Gorm, a vintage release, whatever it might be. The only difference from here to what you'll be tasting is what the wood has done. Yeah. I think that'll be the fascinating thing, trying to pick out the differences from our new maker that you get in your whiskies.
I also forgot to say at the beginning that if you've got any questions, there are people behind the cameras who will be sending in the questions via my phone here. So if you've got any questions, whether it's about the drams that we've got in front of us, anything about distillation with Robin, or you've got any questions about the distillery as a whole, we'll be happy to try and answer those as best we can. But I think I can remember when first started the distillery back in 2005, we were actually selling the new make in bottles because it was a very unique style. It had that lovely freshness to it that we wanted people to try the sort of raw ingredients before we started maturing it.
And there's a difference actually between the Kilchoman new make and the Portellan new make. I mean, that could be all down to the barley.
Yeah, the barley. And,
the commercial malt does go through dressers and it's a lot cleaner, whereas ours is not as dressed. So we still have a wee bit of the root.
More
so
rugged.
Maybe, rugged. That's the word.
But very drinkable.
But and it's just such.
I think essentially we're pretty proud of it. This spirit, it's that farmyard
signature. It's just like
I mean, for me, it's a fantastic place to start. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move into the slightly youngest of the cask samples that we've got this evening. And for those of you who got this cask 645 of 2016, I have got that written down. I probably would have forgotten. Again, all Portellan malt. So we just go through the.
Again, it's the great progression where nothing has happened apart from the wood, and it just shows you what it can do and how important it can be. Because in the space of 5 years, we're not. It's not a huge amount of time. It's not a 15-year-old, 20-year-old, 30-year-old release it. In 5 years, straight away you can see the colour coming in, the character, the flavour. As soon as you bring it to your nose, it's coming through. And that shows the quality of the wood we buy. I think that's something we always highlight, is the wood is so important for any whiskey, and particularly Kilchoman Buffalo Trace bourbon barrels is what we've used virtually since day one. But we'll taste the final one this evening is an 06 barrel, which at the start we didn't have that connection relationship with Buffalo Trace. So that is a Speyside Cooperage barrel, which God knows where that came from originally, something a bit different. But these first two, both Buffalo Trace, and I said straight away, you can see the changes from New Spirit to this whiskey here, and it's that creaminess I get that comes in is the first note.
But it retains that zestiness as well. The zestiness in the new make there, that fresh sort of citrus notes and floral are very much still to the forefront. And this is at 59.7% alcohol, so it's still very, very high in alcohol there.
There's no very alcohol burn. You can't on the nose. You can't get any alcohol burn or anything there.
It's got for me. You get that sort of little bit of creaminess coming in that you didn't get a huge amount of on the new make, and then you get that lovely freshness coming through.
What cask is this? Is 2016?
2016. So this was distilled on 10th of August 2016.
Do you remember this cask?
Exactly? I remember.
Do you know where it is in the warehouse?
Yeah, I do.
No, you do.
I do because I took it.
I
know where it is. It's up at
Kilchoman. It's up at Kilchoman, because we're in the Conisbee warehouse, which is just over the hill from Kilchoman. As we mentioned earlier, one of the few places we actually get good enough Wi-Fi to do these live events. So,
and this warehouse has got our entire range of stock. We've got 06s, 07s, 08s, 09s, 10s, 11. Right,
can you get through them all?
Right away to 21. Now I'm just thinking because there might be something that's not, but it is to go all the way through to 21. So we've got the whole range here.
Yeah.
So Robin, when it comes to a bourbon at 5 years of age, when you're going through sampling it, whether it might be for a Mackie Bay or another expression that we're doing, or a single cask, is there something that when you go into a cask and start tasting it and nosing it, is there something that you are looking for that that's the sort of style that we want?
It's just, we say, like, it's a light fruitiness, the zesty, citrus, And the vanilla, you can get those underlying sort of vanilla hints that you get. Even when you nose it, you can get it there, especially when it's had a bit of oxidization with the air,
I think that's important. The oxidization to it at such a high strength does change it. Even in the space of this tasting, half an hour, you'll notice a difference if you go back. And
you do find with bourbons, they're all pretty consistent.
Yeah.
So you never usually get a bad apple between, a good run where it's like probably
the sherries
and that.
No, I think this one, it's got everything you mentioned, the freshness, the creaminess. The only thing is it's still got a little bit of hint, obviously at 5 years of age, it's got a little hint of rawness. That peat is still there, that fire in the belly is still there a little bit. But I think for 5 years, we're delighted.
Exactly.
And if you look at the comments coming in here, they're all saying the same thing. Someone did actually mention there's a little bit of chili pepper in there as well. A little bit of spice in there, which is
there is a bit of spice. Yeah, when I get out on the palate, but.
And then also don't be afraid to add a few drops of water when you're tasting these at cask strength. They are very high in alcohol.
That can open it up.
And that can open it up massively as well. So don't be afraid.
We could even try.
You have a little drop.
Yeah.
And we should mention that for those who also bought with their packs, charcuterie, chorizo, or the chocolate, the bourbon cask maturation that we're tasting now, it's great with the chocolate if you've got the milk. Is it sea salt? I think it is. Atlantic sea salt and lime. That sort of zesty lime, the sort of creamy milk chocolate goes really well with these ex-bourbon barrel maturation. So if you've got that, pair them up with that chocolate. It does work really well, that citrus and the lime there in the chocolate. And with the chorizo, as someone mentioned there, the slight chili note, we've got the chili venison chorizo there that will blend in really nicely there with the with that last dram.
See, we're just adding the water. I'm just getting a lot more sort of lemony citrus coming through.
Oh yeah,
really does change it. And it's just a few little drops of water.
Yeah, it didn't
in there.
much. It wasn't much. And it's
we're
just
taking out that bit of bite that it's got there.
But then also the viscosity of it, so it gains a bit of creaminess to there as well. Which the quality of these casks that we talk about, they arrive whole at the distillery. And when we say they arrive whole, they are fully made up. So this 2016 cask from Buffalo Trace would arrive whole before being filled with that new make spirit that you tasted at the beginning of the tasting. And those casks really do benefit. I think if anyone's listened to my dad doing a tasting, you'd have mentioned cask is king.
Yeah.
And when you're tasting these like this, it shows the importance the wood plays in the final product.
Yeah, it's just spirit cut. Good wood and spirit cut. That's your.
And for those wondering, it's sort of Mackay Bay is we tell people that it's roughly around 5 years of age, standing the same. So it's this sort of cask. Some younger, some older cask. So it's this sort of cask that will be going into your Mackay Bay and Saneg releases that we do as our core range, and that's up to Robin obviously to pick which ones are eligible to go in and which ones aren't.
So one question that's come in here: would we ever release bottles of new make spirits again? I suppose is the.
I mean, I think it's something that's interesting for a lot of people. We're proud of it.
I think now, before when we had the one still house, we weren't producing as much, and the stuff you produce, you want to put into the barrel. That is,
absolutely.
I think your future. This is the future of like the sales and that. But now, maybe with the other still house, now we're going to be up in production, producing more. We've got that room to actually
I think
do that.
I think it's a great thing to use for tastings. I think for a tasting. To start a tasting off, it's great for that. But whether we would sell bottles we probably wouldn't, because we'd rather put it into the casks and let it mature into what we're taking.
Everything you sell, if it suddenly becomes quite popular, then we've got a bit of trouble filling some into casks. So,
and actually, as sales go up, you need more. More people buy it.
Exactly.
And more of this stuff we need.
I should actually say that all the casks that we're tasting this evening are fresh bourbon casks. So these are all straight from Buffalo Trace before being filled with our new make spirit.
So it's as close to sort of going through the ages as we possibly can, with it being in selection. The only one is the last one's not Buffalo Trace bourbon, but as we get to that, you'll see the sort of interesting differences in the taste that comes through.
Because actually, we are picking these ones, the 16s for Mackay Bay at the moment. So this was one of the run that we were going to use for Mackay Bay, so we put that aside for this.
No, it's a good example of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And are you aiming, I guess, for when you're doing those sort of bad things? Is it some like this, and then some you're looking for with a bit more harshness or a bit more smoke, or some bit more creamy or a bit further on?
And then you've got the sherry butt, which will
soften it down a little bit.
And just give it that bit of sweetness and body.
So you're looking for a bit of variety, or all similar? I mean,
most of them are all pretty similar. You know, there's not
I guess
much
at this age, maybe, yeah.
between around about the 5-year mark. They're all pretty similar. I mean, when we do our selection, we do pick up samples from block.
Yeah, and is it all first fill or
first fill,
and refill?
We've got some refills.
Some refills.
Yeah, got some refills. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, you've got a wee mix, not as many refills, but you've got a mixture of the fresh and the refills.
They go in there. Yeah.
And refills, I mean, refills are good as well.
Yeah. No.
I remember when we, went back in, what was it been, 2015, 16, when the single casks that we were releasing, they were only 4, 5, 6 years of age, single cast, and we were more than happy to sell loads of these and bottle these for any market around the world. And then as we've got on, obviously now the single casts are more like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. But there's no harm in bottling, and this is a single cast. I think at cast strength it goes down very well, which is actually one of the reasons I think in the first tasting they tasted the Mackie Bay cast strength, and that's gone down phenomenally well as a whiskey. People love that, and it's basically this, which is you can understand why.
I mean, between a refill and a fresh 2016, it'd be pretty close to maybe. The 2016 refill maybe a little bit rawer,
okay,
and lighter. But
the refill will just take a little bit longer to get to this mark that we're at now. Okay, and then just a question that's come in: when you evaluate a cask as not useful, so whether that might be a bourbon barrel that's arrived that you might put your nose in and go, I'm not sure that's what we want to fill into, or whether it's one that's maturing.
Bourbon or the barrels?
Well, I don't know, both really. But whether you sample a cask and go, ooh, that's not quite what we're looking for. Is there a plan that you then go down?
With bourbon, I think it's more time.
Yeah.
You just say, we'll leave that one. You make a note of it in a year's time. We'll try it. We'll sample again in a year's time. Sherry ones, you probably want to decant if it was not. Okay. It's not where we wanted it to be.
Okay.
You'd probably decant it.
Because I guess you're expecting them to go on quicker.
Yeah.
And someone just wanted to clarify that everything that we're tasting this evening is all ex-bourbon cast that we're going to be tasting this evening in this one. And then later on the tasting will be the experimental cast with.
Oh, someone got the wrong pack. I'm
not sure. I'm not sure. One of the questions that came in here, they might have opened up the wrong one. We're not.
That's interesting. Going back to nose the new spirit for those who've not polished it off just yet, and compare it to the 5-year-old we got there, and you can get those similar notes. It's, for me anyway, it's that first one's got much more of that farmyard sort of feel to it, and then here it's just got that slightly more refined, still citrus, still zesty, but that sort of farmyard feel is maybe being sort of matured out by the cask.
Like more sophisticated.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
maybe it's slightly warming up as well, because it's not exactly the warmest place to do a tasting.
Probably.
Been in the warehouse since 11 o'clock this morning. It's quite not the warmest place.
Yeah, you find that as well. George touched on there. When you do samples of casks, we do take them in. It's not a matter of going in and going, we'll do this, and
that'll do.
Yeah, exactly. We'll usually take them back to the lab and let them warm up to room temperature, and it can make a complete world of difference.
Yeah.
And
completely. That's why it's always nice to
the
leave
makeup
a
of
bit,
the makeup of the whiskey.
So a couple of questions that come in here. How many casks do we have maturing at Kilhoman at the moment?
At Kilhoman, well, in here.
Well,
okay.
Explain so we at the moment we're in our warehouse.
We've got 6 warehouses.
Yeah.
This warehouse here, I think, got around about 5,600 in here. Actually, 100 more, because 100 came down the other day. So.
5,700.
100 went out. So I'm right. 5,600. And then altogether, I think we're around about 11.
About 11,000 altogether.
But all our casks are maturing in our own warehouses here on Islay. We have 2 warehouses here at Conisbee, which is near Brookladdy, and then the other warehouses are all at the distillery itself.
There's 4 up there.
Yeah.
So
11,000 casks. It sounds like a lot. Obviously, most of that will be between the ages of 0 and 5, because once we start bottling it for Mackie Bay Saneg at sort of 4, 5, 6 years old, we don't have much stock that's over 6 or 7 years old. A lot of it is that earlier age. So that's why when you're tasting, I guess we're wondering why we don't have more 100% Islay, more Loch Gorm, more of these sort of experimental casks, it's because we simply just don't have the
Stock.
older stock.
Stock profiles.
So yeah, we're building that up though over time. Robin mentioned earlier about us up in production and the new side of the still house. So hopefully, whether it's 3, 4, 5 years down the road, we'll have a much bigger selection of stock that we can do. Maybe 3 or 4 releases in our core range. We can do the limited releases slightly bigger, and that's the plan.
I'm going to allow you have more casks.
It's very kind.
Yeah, is that very good of you?
Thanks.
To let
It's so nice. Another question that's come in here is about the barrels. How do you ensure the bourbon barrels are leak-proof?
Stick your finger in it.
Yeah, there's a hole.
I wasn't pointing at someone.
Pointing at.
Is it a regular thing that you can go into a warehouse and find the cask is leaking?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
And then what do you do then? Is it a case of
usually we've got tools for hardening them, which is tightening the rings on the cask, which then tightens the bits of wood together. And you get in transit from America, you do get some that are damaged.
And then would you decant it, or would you just try and fix it?
We're being a bit more ruthless now.
Okay. Wondering what you're going to say there.
So we're saying not filling that.
So if there is a damaged cask, I'd rather decant that into a good cask and put it in the warehouse for it to leak.
Yeah.
And come down.
Okay. So they're not pressure tested or anything like that?
No, we don't pressure test them. Right. The guys are pretty good when they're filling. Yeah. But if they know what a damaged cask looks like.
Yeah, I guess one point to make is it's dunnage warehousing as well. So it's not a rack or partage where you can go and see every cask at a time. If you've got a cask leaking at the bottom of the back of one of these
it's difficult
styles behind us,
we are going to.
It's very hard to get to.
Now we've got a few more staff in the warehouse inside. We are going to. Well, we have done in the past. Yeah. But we're going to do it more often. Is tapping casks. Yeah. Just so you know.
Just go around knocking them.
Yeah.
And hoping you don't hear something hollow.
Yeah. Like.
But I think we'll the third whiskey that we're going to taste to see.
That wasn't hollow.
Is so we're going to move into a 2011. Again, a fresh bourbon barrel with our Port Ellen malt. So 50 parts per million. When we talk about Port Ellen malt, this is malt that is malted here on Islay by Port Ellen Maltings before then being delivered to the distillery at 50 ppm. So what we're doing here is we're moving from the 2016 to cask 203 of 2011. This was distilled on the 21st of April, 2011. It's 53.2% alcohol.
430.
430 was it?
Yeah.
And you'd have just started in 2011. You might have been in the still house.
I was. Wow, that's an amazing dram.
Must be all your hard work, Robin.
And this I think is the biggest step. I think in terms of when we go from this to the 15-year-old next, it's a not quite a bigger jump, but from the 5 to here, it's a really interesting jump because it's a first fill cask, but it's Buffalo Trace bourbon barrels. It's fresh cask, same spirit. And just that little bit extra age, and you can really see now it's starting to take hold. That real creamy butterscotch sort of buttery feel to the whiskey is coming in. That more the slightly, buttery, I guess more that little harshness that you got maybe in the 5-year-old, the little sort of fiery smoke.
It's smoothing out. It's sort of
isn't there in the same way. And what percentage was this? Sorry,
53.2. You just ignored me, did you? That's no surprise. Right?
I mean, 53 is quite low for a 2011, but
because what are we every year averaging losing in terms of ABV? One-ish.
Yeah, one-ish. But then I think it depends
all varies.
On the cask. It depends on the cask.
No, I mean instantly sipping on that one.
Yeah,
the smoothness and the mouthfeel of that is phenomenal.
I get a nice little bit of sort of pepper spice on the front of the tongue, and this lovely richness that comes in over the top. Almost that sort of butterscotchy creaminess coming through as well from those bourbon barrels.
Still has that smoke, but I think with the first one where it was a bit more of a fiery peat, this one it's really nice integrated smoke. It comes in light smoke. Smoke. Certainly not a heavy smoke. I don't think with any Kilchoman, just that first one had a little bit of it, but
and the smoke
really nice.
Actually, the light smoke carries on.
Yeah. I think that finish is something with the cask strength whiskies you get, which is great for Kilchoman. Some 10-year-old cask strength whiskies, you don't always get it. You get sometimes a real rawness to the cask strength whiskies. You're getting loads of ABV, loads of alcohol, hits you in the face, and then the taste kind of dies away. I think what we're so pleased with here is it comes in, as you said, Robin, and that light smoke, the sweetness hits, and it really keeps going and going and going and going. And this is a terrific dram that keeps on developing on the finish.
So these, I think anyone who my dad did a Q&A earlier on from the warehouse, and he was talking about bourbon barrels, and he was sort of mentioning the fact that fresh bourbon barrel, he feels, comes into its peak anything from 10 to 15 years of age, and when you taste the 10-year-old versus the 5-year-old, you can really see the sort of big step up in cask influence and the quality of the dram there, and that's at cask strength as well. And cask strength really puts you in control, doesn't it? As far as how you want to enjoy your dram. Yeah. Good chocolate, Peter. Nice chocolate. Again, pairs really well with this. Really nicely.
I should try it.
Obviously, try it first without the chocolate. I would, but with the chocolate in there, that sort of creaminess of the chocolate, the little lime zest really helps bring out some of the character in the whiskey.
Whiskey first, then chocolate.
However you want, Robin.
So, a question that's coming here. So, Peter, as far as warehousing, is there a program as far as warehouses that we're building at the moment? Have we built a lot of warehouses?
Yeah,
recently,
I mean, we've that's our big thing. We're obviously stepping up production slightly. Suddenly, we've not got much room, so we've just built a couple of more warehouses up at the distillery just round. If you come visit us whenever you're allowed next, you drive up into the car park on your left there, you'll see some warehouses. But we're then now building a few more further up towards the dam that we've got, where we'll be housing. Those are all dunnage, but something we're testing out now is a little bit of racking that we've got in one of the warehouses opposite the still house, where we're testing a bit of that out. But it is on a small scale because dunnage is obviously the traditional way of maturing. And
sorry.
No.
No, I'm just.
I was on the roll, Robin.
Oh, sorry, just because you said about racking, that was the thing, and you were saying about that.
Robin didn't want to forget something.
Exactly.
Must be important now.
Oh, it's important because these racking also is it's making not the life easier, but it's cask selection a lot easier as well, because we can put the cask we're going to select for Macher Bay and that into these rackings, which we can take out easily. Yeah. And so then the stuff in the dunnage doesn't get moved as much. Yeah. So they sort of.
So the racking's not necessarily for maturing.
No. It's going to be short. It's going to be a short-term holding point. So all the Macher Bay for the year will go into there, because I mean this year.
Because this is an example, isn't it? It's trying to get these casks behind us out.
I don't know if Michael mentioned about the vatting in that, but
bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, the year before, in April or May, we did 11. Well, we did this year. We did 11 Macher Bays. While last year it was October. We're doing 11. So
that's 11 Macher Bays and 11 vattings, isn't it? Which is
So anyway, sorry, I was going off the point there, but
no, it was in there. It was in there. Also, it was a good point. It was valid. Yeah.
There's a few people concerned, Robin, that you haven't got one of these jackets and wondering if you're allowed one. Or
well, I was too warm,
you're doing all the hard work.
Another question, another comment that's come in about the third dram that we're tasting here, saying that the peatiness is disappearing, that noses of rose coming out of it as well, sort of floral quality in there, and then also talking about vattings when you were going on about the racking in warehouse 1 that we put in.
Yeah.
What are the youngest casks that we're putting into the likes of Macher Bay or etc. is the question.
So we're putting in 3 or 4 year olds I think still. So it's just when we talk about the age of Macher Bay, I think it's the average, isn't it, that we're talking about. We're not talking about one age. It's the average about 5.
But we are now. Our stock profile is getting bigger. Because casks that when we increase production, like the 2016s, for example, we do have the stock profile there to actually use older casks.
Yeah, so it's going to start going up to 6, 7, 8 over time.
So over the years from that, we have the casks that will become that little bit.
Yeah, is that plan the end of this year? We're going to increase the average, or is it next year?
I think we did start this year, and it will be next year. And obviously, Anthony's got the horns on that one.
The final say.
And for those, if you've got the Macher Bay, if you look at the back of the bottle, there is a date, a printing, and a batch number. So, as Robin said, when he chooses these vattings, he did 11 last year. The batch number is on there, and a date of bottling. So each time, as he said, next year the average of Macher Bay maybe 6, or the year after 7 or 8. And you'll be able to see if you're tasting Macher Bay why it's different. If you taste it 2 years ago to now, or whenever it may be.
But the good thing is we got the casks in stock. We can keep it consistent. So through cask selection, from like Anthony himself, and that we can keep Maccabee as close to.
So I suddenly jumped to be a different whiskey altogether. Yeah.
Another question that's come in here is: has there ever been a discussion about filling higher than 63.5% alcohol, which is our current filling strength? So all our spirit goes into the cask at 63.5% after being reduced.
I think there may be room for it to do that, because as before, when we weren't producing as much, you want to fill as many casks as possible. So you are then reducing it down to 63.5, which you'll have more liquid.
Yeah.
But as we increase our production, there could be
I think definitely it's all about
do some experimental ones with higher.
No, I think we're definitely really keen to experiment. So 63.5 is always what we've done, but as you mentioned, the increased production allows us. And I think James is the only one, our brother's the only one to fill by accident. I think they ended up filling at about 65 or 67% because they got their numbers wrong. Maths wasn't a strong point, so they ended up. So we've got one batch of casks, about 20 odd casks that are filled at near enough, probably 70%.
Our strengths almost not so long ago. I was actually on holiday at the time when I got it through, and was like, I know why that is.
Another question here is, what's the oldest cask that we got in our warehouse? Can you remember the date?
You should know that one.
Number 1, 2005.
What date was it filled?
December the 12th.
No. God,
so close.
14.
Oh, 2 days. Wow, what's 2 days?
Shocking. Shocking.
And also, there's people asking if you're enjoying being part of these live tastings.
I'm just loving it.
And also, someone's asked if you enjoy being an Instagram model.
Oh, well, there you go.
I mean, is that part-time or?
Actually, full-time.
Oh, is it?
A full-time model now.
Full-time model, part-time.
No, but the bourbons, a lot of times, as soon as the bourbons come in, they're filling straight away. If we get something like a sherry butts now, we want to fill them straight away because they're quicker, and they might lose the impact that we'll get from when you make.
Of course, And I saw you hosing some yesterday. For filling the top of the barrel. And that is that's testing if they leak, or that's just keeping them.
Well, actually,
wet.
It does two things. It keeps them wet, and if you do, and it's got a dry top on it, it's leaking.
Okay. Yeah.
So it does sort of two things. It keeps them.
So we can keep that a little bit longer if we keep them wet. We can.
Yeah, if you do soak them, it does help to keep the stays and that swollen and that.
And the questions are now coming in.
Are they?
They're coming in now. So, what's the difference between Maccabee and Sannig if they're in the same barrels and same spirit? So, Maccabee and Sannig, there are our core range products, and the Maccabee is 90% bourbon cask and 10% sherry cask matured, whereas the Sannig is 70% sherry and 30% bourbon cask matured.
Yeah. So basically, only the casks. Yeah.
Yeah. Is the difference with that one?
Just the percentages of sherry and bourbon.
Next question. We're going to next whiskey?
Yeah, we're going to the next whiskey, and then we will
field some of the questions. I just had some of that chili Burns and chorizo for those as well, and it's great. Ooh. Pairs really well. That rich flavour from the chorizo with the strong flavours from the Kilchoman, it goes down really well. And I think I mentioned earlier, this is probably one of the interesting ones because we're going older, so we're going back to one of our oldest casks. This is, I think, number 1106, number 406. So this is the 11th cask we ever filled at Kilchoman, 7 in 2005, just 4 in 2006. So it's a pretty special cask. But the interesting thing is, it's not a first fill Buffalo Trace bourbon barrel. It is a first fill cask bourbon barrel, but it's from Speyside Cooperage, unknown exact origin. And I think it highlights how important actually is knowing where your casks come from, the origin of the wood, what's been in it before, for how long, because it is a very different taste that comes through. And I think we would all say when we tasted it earlier, just before the tasting, that it has a very different nose, very different character.
Isn't it? Completely different
to the I guess you'd say the regular Kilchomans. Perhaps not quite as fresh, although the nose is actually really, really nice, I think. But on the palate, perhaps, is where you don't get that same butterscotch, that same creaminess that you get through from the Buffalo Trace.
Not as much citrusy.
No.
I think a much more herbal note comes through on this, as opposed to the creaminess that comes through on the palate, perhaps of the 10-year-old one that we just tried before.
A lot of people, when they nose Kilchoman in bourbon, they always talk about sort of farmyardy aromas coming off, and this is one that I feel that has that coming
actually
out.
Sitting there, because actually now it does come through with that.
Yeah.
That sweetness, slight sweetness side. And I don't know if I've just had the chili chorizo, so it's
Could be.
tasting so slightly spicy. it might be the chili chorizo I'm tasting on that one.
So yeah, I'm getting chili. Yeah, it's interesting. Like you were saying, the farmy sort of side.
It's interesting to see, because if you took the last cask we had and matured that for another 5 years, I think you'd get a very different character to what you're getting here, and that's just down to the wood difference that we've got, and it's not being the same bourbon barrel.
So for people that aren't aware, when we bulk cast from Speyside Cooperage, what sort of are they? Do they come different wet style, or what makes them so much different from the Buffalo Trace ones?
It's really Buffalo Trace. We get as whole cask. They're wet when we receive them, and Robin and the team, take the bung out, fill them straight up. We know the exact origin, what bourbon has been in that barrel, and everything we need to know about it. The ones from Speyside Cooperage, I think we used for the first 6 or 9 months or so before we had the relationship with Buffalo Trace. Those were from Speyside Cooperage. They probably had a number of different distilleries that they bought them from in America. They broke them all. They brought them all over broken down. They recoopered them in Speyside with different ones, different staves from different distilleries. So it's a mixture of staves. Some might be old and sitting there for a bit longer than the other ones. So it's a real mishmash. And sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. And this is not to say this isn't a good whiskey. It's great dram. It really goes down well. It's just highlighting
it's just a bit
the different styles. Yeah.
And again, the impact wood can have.
Yeah, exactly. And how much impact can come through on it. Because I think we're all in agreement that Kilchoman's sweet spot, particularly first fill, is around 10 to 14, 10 to 15. But, and this is a great dram. It might just need a little bit longer than the Buffalo Trace barrels need. Because I think we tried a few of those 06 casks recently, haven't we, Robin?
We have,
And they've all we thought, great whiskey, but need a little bit longer. Whereas you pick up sometimes a 10 or 12-year-old Buffalo Trace.
Buffalo Trace one, and it's like...
And when was it that we switched to Buffalo Trace? What year was it that we made?
I think it was literally after 9 or 10 months. My dad's in the background. What was that? 2007.
2007.
Oh, so we had it for a year. So about a year we had Speyside Cooperage, and then we switched over to Buffalo Trace when we had the relationship with them, and ever since you've been getting casks from them, haven't you?
And just to confirm to everyone, that's still at the 50 ppm. So everything that we've tasted is the 50 ppm.
What was the strength of this one?
So the strength of that is 53.7.
53, so it's pretty similar to that.
And it would this is with the official bottle that we got here, that is made with our own barley, so it would differ slightly, being slightly lighter in peating level, a little bit more freshness in there as well.
No, it's a really interesting one. That.
So, Robin, is there a cask in the warehouse that you're most excited about bottling? Is there something that you go in the warehouse and think, I can't wait for that to be at a point where we can bottle it and get it out there to customers? Not a specific number, just maybe I don't need
thinking of that number.
The style. Is it bourbon? Is there bourbon casks, or are there some of the wine casks?
Occasionally you go on we've got our system for casks. Occasionally you go on there and Robin's put a little note, amazing, or great cask, save this one.
Or talk to Robin.
Yeah, talk to me. I think the interesting ones were these Calvados ones we filled. The apple-y...
As in full maturation ones.
Full maturation ones.
Yeah, we're actually tasting one of those in a bit with my dad's tasting. We've got one of those in there.
And I think that I like that. It's just... It's just
it's
integrated. It's sort of integrated with the spirit. It's just the appleness, and our spirit just seems to
really enhance it.
Yeah, it's the word, enhance. So when I was looking for
that's why I'm here, Robin.
Yeah. just to help out. Just to also
improve my vocabulary.
I think someone at the beginning just missed the cask number. This is cask number 4 from 2006, distilled on the 29th of March. So 2006 from the
It's interesting. So that was filled. So the 4th cask filled in 2006 was in end of March.
Yeah. So not sure what happened.
What were you guys doing then?
We took a break.
Not sure. Yeah, you weren't here then, were you?
Yeah. It was very slow production in 2006. Lovely.
That's smooth, just still quite smooth.
I think it does over time. What's been in that glass, it really has developed. I think with the oxidization.
I'm getting slight peppiness at the end.
So it wasn't just the chorizo, the spiciness. It was in the
whiskey
whiskey as well.
Definitely. I was just checking that out.
Yeah.
Just to see
Lovely richness though on the finish.
Yeah.
Lovely richness there, and it's still got that nice sort of clean freshness to it as well.
And we have fresh bourbons, but we do have the refill bourbons as well, and filled as well. So I think with them, we've sampled some of them, and they're pretty similar to. They're not far off. Same quality as these ones.
Yeah.
They, like again, we mentioned before, they just need more time in the warehouse.
There's a few questions here about Buffalo Trace and the relationship with that. What I'll probably do is I'll ask those to my dad in the tasting, the next one, as he was the one who set up the relationship with them and has been lucky enough to go out there. So any of the questions about casks, etc., we'll answer those in the next tasting. But if you've got any questions, if you're watching this later on, we will get back to you on anything that we've missed. Will we be bottling any of these as a single cask? Any of the samples that we've tasted this evening, are any of those you're now thinking, well, we know what the number 645 from 2016 is earmarked with the potential to go into the Maccabee for the next vatting. And the next two, so the
new make will go into a cask.
Yeah. Really? Very good, Ron. And so
that's my input.
The 2011.
2011.
What would you put a mark on that in the system and think potentially might look to bottle that?
Because these are the ones that sometimes guys are wanting 10-year-olds and that. So
that's got every sort of character you'd want in a Kilhoman. It might need another year or so, but it's got every signs that it's going to be a good quality cask.
And the 06.
And the 06, what would you think? A little bit longer?
A little more time. And
I'd say the 11's one that we wouldn't mind bottling that as a single cask pretty soon, but I'd say the others, the 5 Maccabee obviously, but the 06
you could
maybe another couple of years.
But pop in the comments and let us know which one you think was the standout one from there. So just someone I keep on missing the cast numbers. So just to run through the cast numbers in case anyone missed them.
Why don't you comment and put them in the thing?
Now Peter.
Oh, you have.
Peter is now heckling.
I'm not heckling. I was just wondering if they would.
Oh, right. So just to confirm the cast numbers that we tasted this evening. So cast 645 from 2016, and then cast 203 from 2011, and then we finished with cast 4 from 2006. All fresh bourbon casks, all filled with our Port Ellen malt at 50 ppm, and we've sampled them all at cask strength here this evening. I think we're probably
very good. I think we've run through that, and we'll get back to anyone. If we missed any questions, but thanks very much for joining us. We've got the next tasting
in half an hour's time. So in half an hour's time, I will be back here with my dad going through the experimental casks, and that's when we'll really delve into the sort of projects we've got ongoing in the warehouse as far as different cognac casks, Calvados, port, STR,
and I think
tequila.
Also popping a bottle of the Fèis and talking to you a bit about that one.
Yeah, very good. No, I just
reminding you, just in case you forgot. But Sanjava, thanks guys for joining.
Cheers
and happy Fèis Day.
Happy Fèis Day. Cheers.